The engine of the week-old Jaguar four-wheel drive roared into life, and she revved it a few times, trying to attract the attention of the various members of her family. But much to her annoyance, and after yet another couple of minutes, Seb sauntered out in his socks with his football boots in his hands. As he jumped into the back of the car, she turned around to make sure he was belted in. His beautiful blue eyes and angelic 10-year-old face smiled at her, a smile that lit up his face and the corners of her lips twitched. George then ambled out, the phone to his ear, barking instructions to who she presumed was his secretary, Cynthia. Poor woman, she had Olivia's every sympathy having to pander to George's whims every day. That was why Olivia bought her a relaxing spa day for her Christmas present every year. No one deserved it more. George threw her new mulberry handbag, which had been sitting on the passenger seat, onto the floor, and she used her counting to 3 tactic for the upteenth time that morning before she put the car into gear and drove out through the remote-control gates towards the main road. She glanced back in the wing mirrors at their gorgeous barn conversion and thought that she should probably be more grateful and feel lucky for what she had. But she had never felt more exhausted and worn down in her life. Once she dropped George at the golf club and Seb at football training, while she knew she should probably be dashing round Waitrose with a shopping trolley, she instead went to the nearest coffee shop and sank into a big, squishy armchair with a huge caramel latte and a lemon muffin, and gave a huge sigh of relief. She couldn't wait for the break in Portugal with the girls. She loved her family dearly, but they were so demanding and needy, and she really was reaching the end of her tether. Motherhood was the best job in the world, at times, giving the most amazing rewards, and the love she felt for her family was sometimes overwhelming. But oh boy, did it drive her bonkers too. For once in their lives, they were going to have to man up and cope without her. Chapter 2. Samantha was doing her best to keep busy since he'd gone, but she was struggling with it all, to be honest. She'd never felt as alone as she did right now. There was a void that she didn't think she'd ever be able to fill. She knew it was still early days, and that she had a huge adjustment to make in her life, and that she'd get through it, but it was definitely going to take some getting used to. It was the quietness she couldn't bear. Their house used to be full of life, with a steady flow of friends coming and going, and she was always busy keeping them supplied with food and drink. It was a total contrast to the complete silence of now, and that made her feel so sad. And so lonesome. Minutes seemed like hours, and there were times when she could go for days without seeing anyone. Over the years, her friends had dwindled away. She'd never really needed anyone else apart from her small but perfectly formed family, who she loved and wanted to spend her time making happy. But now, everything had changed. She had a huge gaping hole in her heart, and she had no idea how to fill it. She flicked on the iron in the spare room. She had to do something to keep herself busy before she drove herself insane, so she decided she may as well iron the few clothes that were sitting in the laundry basket. Coming across the top of Peter's, she pulled it close to her nose, inhaling his scent, which was still evident even though the shirt had been washed. Opening the door of his bedroom, the smell of teenage boy hit her, a mix of musky deodorant, food, and stinky old trainers, and she flung open the window. It didn't matter how long he'd been gone, it still smelt the same. How did boys manage to do that? While she wanted to freshen up the room, she never wanted to forget that smell. Her darling boy. She popped the T-shirt in the top drawer of the tall boy in the corner, and, as she turned, caught sight of herself in the full-length mirror. Lank-looking hair with roots that desperately needed some attention, tied back in a bobble, a face free of makeup, because what was the point if she never saw anyone, and a tatty old T-shirt and leggings. Her shoulders slumped. She looked and felt grey and miserable. She had never felt more down in the mouth. She knew that she had needed a kick up the backside to kickstart her life for a long while, and even though some of her was dreading it, perhaps a holiday in the sun with the love of her friends and some laughter therapy was just what she needed. A bit of a tan on her body, some warmth on her skin, and she might be able to recharge her very depleted batteries. Perhaps then she'd feel a little more like the Samantha of the past. That Samantha had been full of fun.